And now every other number that's still left to fill in has to do with officer shootings, either the officer being shot or the officer shooting someone. So we're going to have to find that data somewhere. And where we're going to look for that is Kaggle. You absolutely could you could try and recreate the researcher that we read about in the last video. You could try and recreate his data from the Killed by Police website. But I'm going to come to Kaggle because they usually have data that's formatted for analysis. And so what I've done is I went to Kaggle.com, and then I clicked on data sets at the top. And then in the search bar here, I typed US Police. And then I tagged it by crime because I was getting some other weird stuff. So I also included the tag crime. And so I see several, police shooting data sets that are ready for analysis. And the ones that have to do with civilians shot by on-duty police officers, there are two that are pretty well known right here. One is being maintained by the Washington Post, and the other is being maintained by the Guardian. And so we're going to open the Washington Post one just because it's been updated more recently. The other one we're going to have to come back to is the police officer deaths. So that's the other side. The police officer is the one getting shot in those. So those are the two data sets that we're going to open and download. The one where the police officer is shot and the one where the police officer is doing the shooting. Here's the 538 data set for the police officer deaths. It comes in a CSV file. So I'm going to click the download button and save that file. Then I'm going to go back and pick up the Washington Post police shootings data set. This one is also available as a CSV, so I'm going to download that by clicking download and save the file. Okay, so I got both files downloaded and extracted, and I renamed them according to which one's which. So this one is the police officer died, and this is the officer was involved in actually shooting. And so I'm going to open both of these. And let's start with the police officer deaths. We have the officer who died, the department they worked for, their end of watch, so when they died, their cause of death, a short version of their cause of death, the date that they died. So this is going to be important. We're going to only want to look at certain dates. So I'm going to pull that all the way to the edge. Whether or not it was a canine officer, so later on there could be canine units. The name of the department and the state. So there is absolutely no information about the shooter in this data set. We have no idea if it was a man or a woman who shot the police officer. But we do know if it was gunfire, so we can include that. So the date and the cause, we can include those. But we are not going to be able to tell. We don't even know the demographics of the officer, much less the person who shot the officer. So I'm going to delete all this other information that we don't need. Maybe I'll keep state just because it might be interesting. But I'm just going to keep date and cause. All right, so we've kept the date, including the year, the cause, and the state. Right off the bat, I'm going to delete anything before 2000, just because it's unlikely that we're going to analyze anything before 2000. So we see a total of 2,858 fallen officers. Looks like the most recent data is from July 2016. So, but this is not in order. So let's sort that. Yeah, so the most recent data in this set is from July 2016. So let's assume that it's incomplete at the beginning, so we aren't going to include the 2016 either. Just because it's probably not complete and accurate if it hasn't been updated since then. So we can look at maybe 2014 and 2015 together would be a good idea. If you wanted to do your own analysis with more dates, you absolutely could, but I'm just going to keep all of the year 2014 and 2015, and then I only want to keep the gunshot related. So get rid of all other causes of death. Okay, so there were 99. I have a header row. So there are 100 rows. There are 99 officers who were shot and killed in the line of duty between 2014 and 2015. And it looks like 4 were accidental. So there were 99 total. That's going to be an overestimate because we don't know anything about the race or gender of the shooter. So if we come back to what we were really interested in, we wanted to know the total number of police officers shot by black men. We don't know that. So I'm going to have to modify what we're actually looking at. We're going to look at an overestimate because this includes everyone, not just black men. And so that's going to be 99 total cases, and this is 2014, 2015 only. This is going to be an overestimate of the actual probability we're interested in, which is black men shooting police officers. So this is going to be an overestimate. This is going to actually be probably a higher probability than we want, unless every single police officer that was shot and killed in the line of duty was shot by a black man. But that's doubtful, so this is going to be an overestimate, and that this is a huge number in the denominator. So this probability is going to be really, really tiny, and it's going to be an overestimate. On the other hand, you could also consider it an underestimate because we are only looking at the ones that died. These are only the officers who died in the line of duty. So this is not going to be a very reliable statistic for estimating what we want. It is going to be a pretty accurate estimate of the number of police officers who were killed in the line of duty relative to the total number of black men, but that's not exactly what the original statement was about. It wanted to know how likely it was for a black man to shoot a police officer. It didn't say anything about shoot and kill. So this is not measuring exactly what we want. So all of the other pieces of information we're missing in these probabilities have to do with people being shot by police officers, and that's the other data set that we downloaded. So here's our officer-involved shooting, and this is 2015 forward. This is another crowdsourced data set besides the killed by police one we looked at in the previous video. This is just one that's maintained by the Washington Post. So here, if we look at, say, 2015 to 2016, because again, 2017 is the most recent data that's in here, so it's probably a little spotty. So we're going to delete the 2017 information. The ID is not going to be important to us. The name is not going to be important to us. The manner of death is going to be important. We care about if it was shot or not. Age is going to be unimportant. Whether or not the suspect was armed is not going to be important for our calculation, but I'm going to leave it in because it can be interesting. Gender and race matter in the type of calculation we're trying to make. I'm also going to leave in the threat level and whether or not they were fleeing, just because that's been relevant. It's been reported in recent news stories and made out to be very important and relevant to the story. So I'm going to leave it in there just so that you see what the reportings or what the statistics say. I'm not going to do any computations on them, but this is there so you could look at it if you were specifically interested in that. So what calculations are we trying to make? Let's go back and figure it out. We want to know total number of people shot by police. So that will be easy. We just look at the number of rows minus 1 for the header. So the number of rows here is 1. So 1955 minus 1 is 1954. So the total number of people shot by police in 2015-2016, which is our denominator on these first two statistics, is 1954. So this is for 2015-2016. according to the Washington Post data. The other information we want to know is the total number of blacks and whites shot by police. So that's going to require a pivot table would be the easiest way to do that. And I want to look at race, and so for the total number of blacks shot, we have 491. And for the total number of whites shot, we have 960. And so this is from the same data as before. To fill in our last spot, we want to know the number of police officers who shot black men. And so I don't want to just go by race. I also want to go by gender. And so that black men is 470 from this data set. So this is 470 from our 2015-2016 data.